Function notation, transformation of exponential function. We have given an equation which is actually the transformation equation. We use it for the functions as well as for the exponential functions. It is written here y equals a function of k times x minus p plus q. Here we can see we have some variables. The variables which are outside the bracket, we call it change in y. We have a, you can say that it's a change in y, as well as q, it's also change in y. While the variable which is inside the bracket, for instance x minus p in this case, because it's a general term, we call it change in x. So keep this in your mind that inside mean change in x, while the outside mean change in y. That will help you to solve the further questions in functions as well as in exponential functions. Now let's suppose we have given a question, and let's say it's 2 times y equals negative 2 times 3x plus 3 plus 5. We have a question which is in an exponential form, and we have to transform it as well as we have to tell its notations. So how to explain it? The first thing which you should keep in your mind that this thing, it's actually outside the bracket, it's considered as q, and we call this one the asymptote. Now what is the asymptote? We will explain it later. This number is called asymptote, while this thing, this is the base, or we can call it my parent function. So here my parent function is 2 to the power x, while if I have to write transformation of this thing, how to write it? It's very easy. Let's see how to write it. If I have to write the transformation of this thing, I'm going to write like this: x into y. From x into y, I have to transform my notation into, because you can see here its power, I can write its power in a factor form. It will become 3 times x plus 1. Now keep this thing in your mind, x's are weird. If there's written like x is adding something, it means you have to subtract that thing in the transformation. If something is multiplying with x, it means we have to divide it. So here we can see that 1 is adding in x. So I'm going to write like this: 1 is subtracting from x. I'm going to do the opposite of that thing because it's a transformation. Now I can see that this 3 is multiplying with x. So it means that I have to divide this 3 with x. So see how I can just write my notation for the x. Now for the y, I can see here I don't have any number except negative 2 to the power 3, because it's an base parent function. So I can't consider it x value. There is no number beside it. So I'm going to write y plus 5, because 5 goes for the outside, and if you remember, outside means change in y. So I have to close this bracket. Let's see some more examples on it. For instance, I have a question and it says y to the power y equals 3 times 2 to the power negative x minus 4. In this case, first of all, what will be my asymptote? Just think of it. My asymptote would be 4. Is it? Or we can call it negative 4 because it's negative sign here. So my asymptote is negative 4. My parent function would be the number whose power is given here, which is in an exponential form. So here we have my parent function 2 raised to power x. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna write my transformation form. Because my normal form is for x and y coordinates, I have to transform it. So if you remember what we did in the previous question, because x's are weird, we have to do the opposite what x are actually in the question. If it's multiplying with any number, then we have to divide it with that number in the transformation. If it's adding that number, we have to subtract it. So here we can see that my x is alone. There is no number with it, so I don't need to multiply or divide anything with it. And there's nothing adding or subtracting with it as well. So I'm going to write my transformation for x, negative x, as it is, because there is no addition or subtraction or multiplication division in the power. And for the y, now I can see I have for the y, there's 3 outside the bracket. And outside means that it's a change in y. So I'm going to write like this: 3 y n minus 4, because this one is also the outside change, this asymptote. This is my transformation of function for as well as for the exponential function. Let's see another example. Suppose we have a question and it says y equals half to the power 5x plus 10 minus 5. Now, if someone asks me what will be my asymptote here, it's very clear that my asymptote would be negative 5 because it's outside. And my parent function would be 2 to the power x. Now, why 2 to the power x? Because I can say that this, this half is actually equals to 2 to the power negative 1 because it's x there. So I'm going to write it in this form. And I don't mention negative sign in my parent function. That's why I just write 2 to the power x. Now the next thing here, if I have to transform it from x to y, I'm going to write like how? I'm going to write in this form because I can write my f5x plus 10 in a factored form, which will be 5 times x plus 2. That will help me to write in the transformation form. So keep this in your mind whenever you have to do the transformation, either it's for functions or for exponential functions, you have to write the power in the factor form. So now I can see my x is multiplying with 5. So because x's are weird, I have to do the opposite. So x is going to divide with that number 5. And 2 is adding in it in the question, so I have to subtract in it. So x is done. Now it's a turn for y. There is no number outside the bracket with half. So I'm going to write y as it is and minus 5. So see how we're going to do this transformation in this way. Hope you understand it.